Abora Boye Boshishade is I IFÀ Karade, Umilade, Bato, scene of Sacred Waters Healing Temple, home of divine mysticism, ancestral veneration, and ancient medicine from modern times. This is a sacred space rooted in wisdom, healing, and the living traditions of our ancestors. Here, we guide individuals in reconnecting with their lineage, destiny, and their spiritual practice through the teachings of IFÀ Isheshe, along with practical tools for wealth, wellness, and legacy building. I, Eva Kolade, have been a practitioner of divine mysteries for over 18 years. My work is centered in helping individuals to align with their legacy through wealth, wisdom, and wellness in this lifetime. Sacred Waters Healing Temple is the home of ancestral medicine. One of our core services is ancestral discovery and genealogy consultations to assist individuals with tracing their lineage, uncovering their heritage, and reconnecting with their ancestral names and stories. In Ifa Isheshe, knowing your ancestors is the foundation of spiritual connection. They are the first spirits that you call by name. We offer consultations and budget-friendly packages to assist you on your ancestral journey. I also offer wealth and wellness consulting, whether it's real estate, credit and finance, tax preparation, life insurance, mutual fund investing, wills and trust formation, identity and legacy formation. My goal is to help you align your spirituality and financial responsibilities with your destiny, your path on this journey. I am a practitioner of Iwe, the sacred science of herbs, oils, tinctures, candles, and ritual medicines. Many of us in the diaspora forget that the herbs in our own backyard carry spiritual and healing power. If you're looking to connect with the ancestral herbal wisdom, I offer guidance and homemade remedies. As an Epete, the wife of a Rumila within the Ifa tradition, I also teach sacred roles of women within Ifa and Isheshe. Ifa Isheshe. I assist those who are interested in discovering their destiny, strengthening their spiritual gifts, understand their sacred roles, heal from societal misconceptions, and more. We offer nightly classes for women who want to grow spiritually within the tradition. If you're a part of an Ile and you want to discover how you can build your own spiritual Ile, your own home, whether it's you as an individual or you have your own family, husband, wife, children, or you want to work within a community, whatever they may be, am offering consultations to help you to establish, build, protect, and preserve your spiritual legacy. If you are not a part of an Ile, but you feel called to walk this path, you are welcome to schedule a consultation with me as well. All of the services that I'm offering here are embodied within healing practices of Ifa Isheshe. So whether it's spiritual guidance, divination, ancestral wisdom, and ritual work, Epete training and women's instructions, spiritual development and masteries, our philosophy with Sacred Water Healing Temple is that, you be the water. You be the water. And I'll be the bridge. And I will promise you that I will not let you drown. Along with building your legacy, understanding the pragmatic and philosophical approach, along with understanding your calling, your destiny here on this earth, and helping you to protect and preserve what that may be, I am offering or partnering alongside of Oloye IFÀ Karade, a chief elder and professor of Yoruba religious practices of sage wisdom of over 50 years, over 50 years of information about what Ifa Isheshe is, and so much more within his mystical mind. He is offering a 4-part lecture series for those, whether you're just beginning, you've been in the tradition for a long time, and you just want to get refreshed, or you've been curious about what this is all about. He has a Ifa Isheshe 4-part lecture series that he's offering for beginners, non-initiates, or individuals simply seeking a grounded, mystical, pragmatic approach of what Ifa Isheshe is all about. This is definitely what you want if you're an individual that's seeking practical, spiritual development, whether it be for yourself, for your children, or for Elay that you are also trying to establish in your future. This is the part that you need. This is the part that you want to incorporate to assist in grounding. And so, if you're looking to connect, if you're interested in connecting, the links will be provided in the description. We welcome you to be a part of this Karade Nation, this Sacred Waters Healing Temple of ours, and just understand what this spiritual movement is all about. If you're ready to reconnect with your Ashe, your own Ashe, your own spiritual path, I invite you to join us. Schedule a consultation, attend a class, simply stay connected with the temple, and we will not let you drown, I promise. We made it. Aurora Warrior Shishay. Love you.
Lafia, Lafia Nee, how are you?
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful,
Oh,
wonderful. Aurora Boye, Sacred Waters Healing Temple, family, friends, those who gather, those who meet us here, those who are familiar with us. It's I, Ifa Kolade, Umilade Fatosin of Sacred Waters Healing Temple, and I have Baba Ifa Karade, Oloye Karade here with us, the author of the Handbook of Yoruba Religious Concepts, and we are here.
right.
I wanted to just say, like, we have been on a mission this week, full of events. As the intro mentioned, wonderful events on top of that, and it's just really good. I just feel really good about it.
All right. Well,
I'm still coming down from the last 2 days jam packed pilgrimage. Right, that's what it really feels like.
I mean, since we're in the more the most joyous of Ashe, uh, tell the people some of what we've been doing. Don't leave them hanging. Yeah, we've been doing all these great things. So
And
okay, like what? Okay.
no. Well, of course, I thought you were going to say something, but
Oh no,
of
no, no. I'm
course.
gonna leave that up to you.
So for those who may not be familiar, Baba Ifa Karade is the author of Handbook of Religious Concepts. This book right here, and over the 50 years, he has been working more than diligently just to bring what all of his books, all of his work, all of his speaking, his education, all into what we have today, this Karate Nation, and is a powerful movement of clarity, continuity, and cultural responsibility within Ifa Isheshe. And he has been offering it in a grounded, very scholarly, practical approach to the African traditional thought of ours. And he put this into collaboration with Sacred Waters Healing Temple so that we can have these lecture series, a 4-part lecture series that brings all of what this is all about to a grounded foundation. So we've had full, classes that have been full of amazing guests and questions being asked. Is just like forever unfolding of
Mm-hmm.
things, and just the way that he delivers the lectures is it's just amazing. So I'm just really happy to have you, and that you're willing to collaborate
Mm-hmm.
with me, and so that Sacred Waters Healing Temple and Karate Nation can stand on the ground that it's meant to stand on. And I'm really appreciative of that. And I really appreciate those who also have joined, enrolled, and been a part of that with me, because it's all about bridging the gap instead of divisiveness and confusion, you know. Um, being Sacred Waters Healing Temple, being the founder of it, like that's what I'm about. How do we get over those? How do we get over that ocean? How do we get over there? How do we make it through it? How do we sail through all of that? So I'm just really happy that you're offering and you're being a part of this and being a support of not only my endeavors but those who are seeking for genuine connections, that not only are seeking but are willing to be responsible for what they're asking for, you know, because it's not just about what you bring. Parents can send their children to school, but once they get to school, their responsibility is to do what's necessary. It's not the teacher's fault, it's their fault too. It's like they have to be in participation to whatever they're seeking, just like if they were needing saving, they have to be a participant of their own rescue. So, I'm happy that you're a part of it and that you're able to support all of us with our endeavors in this lifetime. So thank you.
We say, "Kotupueyeye." I'm humbled, and it's the most that I can do, but at the same time, it's the least that I can do.
Mm.
Because as you've come to understand over the past few months that we have been collaborating, that I tend to work nonstop, you know, and there's never a question of whether Oloye is going to be on time, whether he's going to get material to me so that I can post, you
Mhm.
know, whether he's going to be in a super bad mood, and going to be hard to deal with, a little crazy sometime, got to figure him out, but never, conflictual. So you see, all of these are, home skills
Mhm.
that not only keep I love you. If I should go on, okay. That not only keep the momentum of what we're presenting to the people, but also how we're developing as individuals. You know, everything that we have to give is from sincerity. Everything that we have to give is from hard work, cross referencing, comparative analysis. Reading continually, having discussions, working things out. You know? So every grain, of rice that we gather, has been cultivated through toil, through work, and again, Ishe, as in Ishe, that
Mhm.
that the work must be done and it must be evident. Now, unlike other places one may have explored where it's sit down, do nothing, you will be saved, you know,
Mhm.
by external forces. All right,
Mhm.
if that's what you believe and that's what you truly feel, then we're not here to argue that. But what we've come to understand from an ancestral Ifa Isheshe way of life is that we have to be an integral part of our salvation.
Mhm.
Just put out a piece that I shared with some people about a preacher. Okay, and I was some folks said, well, it wasn't about whether he was a preacher or not. It was about him being attuned. The same way that I'm calling on initiates to be attuned and Orisha and people who are interested to see what that attuning is like.
Mhm.
Precisely, pastor of a small town. Okay, and I think I even shared this with Ifa Shegun.
Mhm.
Pastor of a small town, small group, maybe 300 people. He had been their pastor for quite some time. Birthing ceremonies, mentoring, marriages, and deaths. What he came to see and take note of is that many of those deaths were happening when people were like in their 40s.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, there's too many funerals happening around here. You understand where I'm going? It's like nobody seems to be reaching ages over 50, over
Mm-hmm.
mid 40s. So he started putting two and two together and started looking at the fact that there was no fresh food available in the area. Whatever supermarkets may have been there moved. Okay. People didn't have cars. You know what I mean? The area was hard pressed. People just couldn't jump up and drive to the grocery store and back.
Mm-hmm.
Taxis and all that. Now we're talking about maybe several years ago. We're not going back into the 1950s and 1920s or whatever. We're talking about today. So he took it upon himself to start a garden. This is the passion.
Mm-hmm.
Took it upon himself to put his hands in the soil because, see, prayers weren't saving people from early deaths based on malnutrition,
Right.
okay, and all other, diabetes and all that, because cheap food from the little gas marts and gas stations, of course, they're filled with toxicity, high sugar content, so people were literally dying at early ages. So instead of just calling on the Lord, so to speak, he was like, I'm putting my hands in the soil.
Right. I see. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because prayers weren't, pragmatically speaking, if I may use that term, saving people's lives. And how you going to be saving their souls and you're not working intently on bettering their livelihood, bettering their lives here, now, not some when you leave your body kind of energy and attitude. And he started a garden. He started off with tomatoes. And and the garden grew and people started to get involved. And over time, well, not difficult to predict, longevity factors and health factors got better,
Yeah.
you know. And see, it's not whether it was Christianity, or it's not whether it was Islam, it's not whether it was Buddhism, it's not whether it was Ifani Sheshe, but it was about the individuals who have the understanding and the wherewithal to do what's necessary to save the people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not one or the other thing. Yeah, people still going to church. Yeah, they were still praising the Lord, but it was them vegetables that was saving them from untimely deaths.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we were to look at that in terms of Odu Ifa, for people out there, listeners who know the Odu, it would fall under Edimeji. May we be sufficiently ripe before eaten up by death. Strive hard to increase the longevity of your life. This is in the Odu.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Yes, yes, Ifashiko. Absolutely.
And
So,
that's
yeah, so I feel as though our woes, Olorishas, Aberishas, and again, interested people should come to understand that this is what we're about. This is what a pragmatic approach is about. Okay. I'm on the road to longevity. I'm not just sitting around praying for it or elbowing myself out of existence. I'm like, no, I'm up. I'm working out. I'm eating to the best of my body's capacity.
mm-hmm.
And you know how does he eat, But the whole thing is, you don't have to eat a lot to be nourished. You just have to eat the right foods, because you can eat a lot of the wrong food and still be malnourished. You see, so it's not how much you eat, it's what you eat. But see, all of this is in Ifa Nisheshe. This is not some separate practice. This is ancestral wisdom, ancestral medicine. And me as an elder in my mid 70s, and I got receipts on how I'm moving through life. It's not by accident. And people, oh, it's the grace of God. Yeah, but the grace of God ain't going to help me if I'm out there self-destructing. You see. So I just wanted to share that, because it's just that necessary that
Mm.
we know it, that we
Ashe.
understand it, we comprehend, and we grasp all techniques available to us to ensure that our lives are as fulfilled as we can make it, and that we last as long as we can in order to just bring our radiance to the world.
Ashe. Ashe. Thank you. That's a beautiful, beautiful story. Thank you. I welcome all who catch the live today as viewing, whether you're new or familiar with us. Welcome. Ashe and Alafia as well. Ia and Ifa Shegun. Thank you for joining. If you will, may I ask that you share the live? You know, I've been doing a lot of sharing, and Facebook don't really like me sharing these messages. They want to restrict me.
Mhm.
They say that I'm abusing the system. But so I'm asking for your help if you don't mind. Share the live with those you love and value that may see fruit in these messages, fruit in the words that's being shared today. But yeah, let's see.
All right. So we're going to continue with Orisha insights. Now, my people, the thrust of this conversation is how we have come to view our Orisha, and what I have put a finger on the slow and dying pulse is that we have been misrepresented again. Okay, we have been stereotyped again. You know, we have been uh, erased again. See, it just doesn't happen on the physical level. It happens on the mental level. It happens on the spiritual level. It even happens on the soul level. I need for us to truly contemplate this message, because see, we can say that we change our mind, but those misrepresentations constantly bombard us. They constantly outweigh the deepness of our pursuit of knowledge and our pursuit of understanding, even when it comes down to our heroes and sheroes and those legendary figures that have arisen through time, the ones we hardly ever see anywhere. We haven't lost our sight, we've just lost the image. My endeavor is to bring back the imagery, because see, those heroes and sheroes and those legendary figures that become deified, understand the stair step here: heroes and sheroes, legendaries, and then those who become deified, some even to the point of having so much of a creative essence that they are said to be emanations of that creative essence. In our Ifai Sheshe, we know that as Olodumare. Okay? But again, what happens when those heroes and sheroes and those legendaries and those deities are erased? Impressions are left, just like when you press down hard, with a pencil or pen, and then you erase it. The impressions are there, the engraving is there. In our case, the genetics are there, the epigenetics are there. Our ancestors and the ways of our ancestors are, you know, inside of us. No matter how many outward offerings we make, if there's no clear grasping of the reality, not the speculation, not the theory, but the actuality that our ancestors are clearly inside of us. And we are living ancestors ourselves. Okay? So you see, when we change the paradigm, we change a capacity to see the image. Okay? We put a little light under the paper, and then we can make out the engravings. And now we can read it. So here we have the importance of imagery, because see, the images become symbolic of the attributes. Okay? And the attributes become models in regards to and in respect to ways of conducting ourselves, ways of living within ourselves and among ourselves. Those attributes become ways of perceiving and perceptions. And we become, as stated in Ejiagbe by Orunmila, our prophet, we not only become living ancestors, we become Orishas. Okay. Now, when you think about it, you can sort of, again, do a cross-referencing or comparative analysis. And if I throw out some names like El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, like if I call out Malcolm X, your mind immediately goes to attributes, purpose of living, willing to sacrifice life and death for us. That is an Orisha. Dr. King, that all of Harriet Tubman, Sojourners. When we start naming them, we start understanding that Orisha are among us. You know, and as a result of them being among us, and we see them with our third eye, with our pineal gland, we are able to awaken those attributes, those heroic attributes, and those heroic attributes within ourselves. And this is Orisha insight. This is Orisha insight. It's not theory, it's not speculation, it's a reality. It is concrete, it is not abstract, it is not mystical, my people. It is practical. It is practical. Okay? What is going on may be mystifying because we don't know how it works. This body of ours, this mind of ours, this ori of ours, but we know it's there. We know we have a consciousness, and we know we have a meta consciousness. And we know we have glandular structures inside of our bodies, plexus. Okay, we know that. Medical science has known that for 40 to 60,000 years. It's nothing new. It's not about. Go back to the first slide. There you go. It's nothing new. Okay, so I want us to take a good look at an artist imagining, because that's what happens throughout every culture. It's all about how the artists imagine, not because they're artists, but because they're kind of tuned into a certain frequency, which then makes them artists. You see? So when we think about Orisha, I invite us to think through our third eye. And this, as we'll later discover, this is where Orumila sits. And it's stated in Iwori Meiji. This is where the brother of Orumila, Ela, Ela. This is where Ela sits. And you got to pass through Ela in order to get to Orumila. Orumila, the, the heavens within know how to save us. Orun is the heavens, but it's not an external heaven. The body is over 90% space. The heaven is within us. Check any Kemetan science. We've known that for 10, 12,000 years. And see, that space within us connects with the space that's outside of us. But we're not devoid of the heaven within, just like we're not devoid of the sacred waters. We're 70% water. But we'll go out to, you know, make sacred through ritual all of these things and neglect to ritualize within ourselves. Okay. Thank you, Apetibi. Next slide, please. There we go. So this brings us to the Orisha. Okay. Now, keep in mind, Orisha, right? I don't know how long it took for me to receive the lightning bolt, the thunderous epiphany that Orisha was actually two words. And that all the time I'm hearing about Ori and Ibori, and even when Eleta Wolona was up and running, and doing Iboris and all of that. Iboris, were like head cleansings, right? That it didn't dawn on me until later that the Ori in Orisha was a potent gateway. The Ori in Orisha is a potent gateway to the Sha. And what is the Sha? The Sha is the implosion. The Sha is the combustion. The Sha is the awakening. The Sha is the resurrection. You understand? So Orisha. Okay. The the syncretisms and the way that we've been raised to see how religion is or religions are negates how our ancestors viewed religion. And then some of them say, well, our ancestors didn't have religion. We were spiritual. I said, yeah, but you're still practicing spirituality the way that you've been taught outside of yourself, or you abandon African spirituality to go to, you know, Asian spiritual practices, or some of us even, are getting into Norse gods and Greek gods, and you know, and all of that, because we feel as though it's not vibrant, that it's not in fact a vital component of our own Ifa Isheshe. Nobody teaches us that. No one even turns us in that direction. Even the folks into syncretism and all of that, they have Orisha on one side and Catholic saints on the other, and At the end of the day, when you die, you go into pearly gate heaven, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As if we didn't have concepts of afterlife, even reincarnation. It's all in the Oloye IFÀ. I'm not conjecturing here. I'm not, talking off the top of my head. I'm not trying to sell you the bridge. You understand? It's all real, and I know it's real. I know it's real. I know that it's real. So when we look at the Orisha, it becomes imperative that we question not just what we see, but how we see it, how we interpret it. And from a pragmatic approach, how do we then braid it into our lives? How do we become, in part, the Orisha? See? So here's our artist conception of Orishas. And I won't go through, pointing them all out. Most of you, if not all of you, know Shango and Oshosi and Obatala, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I use this slide, this picture, to show again artists' conceptions. Okay. Now, back in the day, for example, going into like a botanica, okay, you wouldn't see Orisha looking like this. And I invite you to Google, Orishas, and of course you have your seven major Orishas, but those seven major Orishas are only basically the survivors of the enslavement period with the Europeans. Okay, seven survived. There are 400 plus one Orishas. 400 plus one. And why is it a plus one, my people? Because there's always an addition to. For example, the people of the farm may have or Orisha Oko, the Orisha of the farm. But say you're not a farmer. Like everyone in this country is not a farmer, but there are farmers. Okay. But see, some say you're royalty, okay, and you're in the Benin Empire. So your group may have the Orisha Olokun. You understand? Who was the Orisha of the oceans? Because there was a lot of fishing going on, a lot of trade boats back and forth. We weren't a stagnant society. We had empires, and these were our deities. So my point is, the folks up on the farm, they had Orisha Oko. They may have never even heard of Orisha Olokun, and vice versa. You understand? So we can branch that out, to as we should say, the nth degree. And you may wander into a certain area and they got Orisha so and so and so and so, and you're like, well, I never heard of that Orisha. And they're like, well, we never heard of the Orisha that you have. But that doesn't stop them from, you know, giving homage to the Orisha that enhances their lives. And it's not that, oh well, I'm a priest of so and so, or I'm a priestess of so and so. You may have an Orisha that everybody gathers together to give and bring offerings to, regardless of who their individual Orisha may or may not be. For example, you get a group of and I'm gonna bring us up to date now. You get a group of people who want to be taxi drivers, who are taxi drivers, Uber drivers, or whatever. And from an ancestral point, it's like they all have Ogun, you know. They're mechanics, they're working with metal, even though they may not forge the vehicle, they drive in it. So they're all Oguns, well, Ogun, 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 you know, and somebody, well, they may go to a bembe or whatever, and somebody, oh, well, you're a child of Obatala. And I said, well, that may be true, okay, but my guild is one of Ogun. The group that I belong to is of Ogun. I give homage to Ogun. You see, but that's that's a branching that we generally don't, you know, gear ourselves to understanding because we're stuck on, you know, uh, who's your Orisha and how many stones in your pot and who initiated you, and all of the external things. Okay, so when we look at the Orisha, we tend to see based on what we've been taught. Okay, and more so what we've been told, because we generally accept what we've been told, and we're sometimes admonished, or don't read a book. You know what I mean? Don't talk to anybody else. Don't get involved with those people over there because they might confuse you. Hmm. Uh, for people who kind of feel as though that's the road they travel, fine. For me, and I'm almost certain for you, or you wouldn't be listening, is that's not the way we grow. That's not the way we flow. All right. So here we have again a number of Orisha. We know that there's so many more. We also know that through our strivings and through the accomplishments of our own endeavorings, that we become in part Orisha ourselves, and that the Ori of Orisha is the inner combustion, the inner rebirthing, the resurrection, the enlightenment of us, and such is the way of Orisha. Okay. Petty B, can we take some questions, or hear some responses? Uh, I'm, I'm always willing to listen.
Awesome. Yes. Oh, just want to acknowledge Rain, Join. Thank you, Lafia, and as well as EF Fumilayo. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. She's the one who shared that post that you spoke about the other day about the river and the rock and the
Ah,
stone.
you did. Yeah, the river does not argue with the stone.
Yeah,
Thank you.
the one who showed
Thank
us
you
all.
for
And
that.
then she
Hmm.
said, yeah, we must keep going and we will keep going.
Okay.
And she also said Orisha insight and Orisha, just emphasizing,
Yes.
echoing what you said. Um,
Hmm.
I like what you said as far as, something that I've done, and also I've recognized with others is coming to the understanding of what the Orishas are.
Hmm.
You
Can you
and
take her piece off so I can focus? All right.
so, it's coming to the understanding of what Orisha is. And a
Hmm.
question that was asked recently was, "Who is my Orisha?" That's always a question that's asked.
Hmm.
They come into knowing, of course, seeing all of what's going on social media. Who is
Hmm.
my Orisha? Um, I I learned throughout my journey that you really don't know who that one Orisha or that two Orisha is until
Hmm.
Tefa. Until you complete Tefa, you pretty much you're governed by all energies of the Orisha. And I always say that because it could change, as you're going throughout life. And experiencing different things, different atmospheres, relocating, different job, different a different need for you to be what
Yeah.
you need to get through something. Your energy might change. So therefore, if you was to sit with myself or a Baba
Mm-hmm.
Carrot, and we did Idafa. One month you might be Ogun and Oshun, but then in the next 2 months or so, you Obatala is speaking to you or something. So it always changes, or it's a need for Cyan to that Orisha is speaking to you. So
Mm-hmm.
like these energies are always coming and going. As you need them throughout life, and whatever Orisha comes at that particular time may
Mm-hmm.
just be for you to be attentive towards it at that time. It could be like something's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Here's something to take awareness to.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Maybe it's time to pace yourself instead
Yeah.
of being so hasty. Plan something, prepare for something, or check your blood
Mm-hmm.
because there's a need for cleansing. Osayan energy. It always changes, and so that's something that came to me that I wanted to add on to what you were saying as far as the Orishas in general and just knowing who they are and what they all embody.
Well, see, yeah. What we will come to realize is that, well, you are on point. Okay, and I can say that from a position of personal experience, anecdotally, because
Mhm,
when I went to Ejibo to be initiated back in '91. And even though, was going to the Bembays and, the whole thing, yeah, I went through all of that. And it was like, well, Omo Obatala, Obatala, and then Rumila is calling. So when I get to Ejibo,
mhm,
the elder priestess, Ibaye Iyan Lakeye, she sat me down, next to her rustic bed. She was laying on the bed. And she looked at me and she said, "You have all the Orisha inside of you."
yeah. Mhm,
Okay. And now, mind you, this doesn't pertain to everyone on every level.
mhm,
She said, "The reason why you have Obatala is to help you govern so that you get a sense of governing these Orisha inside of you."
mhm,
So I received Obatala. Now, that goes back to what I was saying about being a mechanic. And then Ogun is your Orisha, regardless of what else people might say about you. That's
mhm,
what you do. That's your inclination. That's your profession. It's just like if you were a hunter. All right, you got Ogun and Ochosi. Just somebody I'll tell you, oh, you Shango. And it's like, well, that might be true in a certain respect, but I'm out here with the hunters. Okay. you know. So and something else you said that was on point, in addition to what you said, was that when you go through different stages in life, there are the Orisha within that become the guiding lights, if you will.
mhm,
So trying to stay stuck on one Orisha, oh, I'm a Shango, so I can do this and I can do that. I'm a Shango boy. You know what I mean? I can rule this and I can rule that, only to find out that Shango may be leading you to have a greater understanding of yourself. And in order to understand yourself, you need to understand how all the Orisha are working within you. It's not one or the other, it's one and the other. But
mhm.
the degrees change by our own personal growth and by circumstances.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, this is revolutionary in terms of what we've been taught and what we've been told.
Mhm,
because I remember back in the syncretism days, exploring this because I never really gave into to the syncretisms, but that's my own personal journey. I couldn't see giving anything to the saints except, you know, but anyway, so I'm like, okay, all of this. So and so is fighting for your head. They fighting. You know what I mean? Oshun is fighting for you. She's fighting against Shemojada. Why the word fight? You know, why embattled? I never accepted that because it's like, you're throwing more conflict into a place that's striving for peace. Why can't it be at this point in your life, Oshun and Yemoja are working together to help you through your trials and your struggles, to help you to evolve in whatever area of life where the one of them can rise to be of greater help to you, of greater assistance to you, to help you save yourself. You see? So again, when we look at Orisha, are we looking at Orisha insightfully, or are we just basically going along with what we've been taught and what we've been told? Okay.
Mhm.
I'm here, and we're here to break through that so that you can start teaching yourself and listening to your inner self.
Ashe.
You know? Yes.
Absolutely. It says, Ashe coming and going as needed. If Ashe gone, says Ashe.
Yeah.
Eh,
Beautiful.
absolutely right. And I'm always going to give thanks to you for the way that you delivered a message because um, even just reflecting on my own path, I know whenever I received, when I was told that Oshun was at my head and Shango was at my feet, I knew
Hmm.
where I was. I was living in Mexico and I was
Hmm.
preparing to come back to the States.
Hmm.
Come back to the States. And when I
Hmm.
got to learn and know what exactly Oshun was about, okay, I'm dealing with my children. I'm dealing with, go back home,
Hmm.
heal, that set the atmosphere. But then when I was told about being having Shango at my feet, it was about strategy. As soon as I got my place, I had to figure out the job, and then I had to get a car, and then I had
Hmm.
to balance all the finances, and that's all of Shango's energy. Then it
Hmm.
went any further because the atmosphere of being at work, time, being diligent,
Hmm.
doing everything a certain way was needed for me at the time so that whenever certain things arise, I'll be prepared for it. And I
Right.
remember a time when I was where I was working at the manager and I had a no supervisor and I had some conflicts with each other, and I got so heated inside I started hyperventilating until the next day. I was so emotional by that
Hmm.
because I didn't prepare for things to come the way that I should have, but I kept being warned in reading, of how to that I
Hmm.
needed to prepare. But I was just looking at it from like this image right here of
Yeah.
what Shango and Oshun looked like. It
Hmm.
was I wasn't all the way, I hadn't all the way really sat with what that energy encompasses, like what to do with it.
Right.
And
Right.
then and like so like you and also like Baba Mutosing, my Lord, like that need for strategy and the need to really sit with self and really understand is important. I give thanks to you because you bring a lot more skill that I have yet to have found until I started talking to you when it comes to things, that pragmatic skill, the of understanding what these energies come with. So I
Yeah.
thank
Yeah. That's yeah. Uh, if I say go, we're gonna get to that in a minute, my brother. All right, with the
you.
chakra.
Yeah. He he
Now,
he he ahead of things.
yeah,
How
that's
you
all right. He's a Karade. You gotta watch them Karade people. You know what I mean? And all of their allies, they have a tendency to be right up there with myself. And I'm like, it's good to see you. Okay, good
doing?
to side by side. There's two things I want to uh, add to your sharing. Okay,
Mm,
one is that the head and the feet part. Now I've heard this, of course, a number of times, and you're smiling like you know where I'm getting ready to go with this, right? Now, when we look at Orisha insightfully, okay, I'll share this with you too. One of the factors that pulled me, that said that being involved in Ifani Sheshe was was cool, you know, was like a smooth thing to do. Now
mm,
again, I'm talking like back in the '80s, so don't mind me, y'all, if I tell them my age by my vernacular. Okay, so it was like I saw men who had female Orishas.
I'm glad you was coming with me. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so
Mm,
of course that's not a part of how we're raised, especially black, and especially macho man kind of thing. It's like, damn, how these dudes going around talking about they Oshuns,
mhm,
and Ojas and Oyas and stuff, and I mean they were just regular guys. It wasn't like there was, two moons or any of that. And
mm,
I'm like, well, that's pretty cool, And then in the house, you got women folk who are priestesses of Shango and priestesses of Ogun and all of that. And I'm like, damn, priestesses of other male uh, Orisha. And I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool because it made me it made me step back and look more deeply into what our ancestors have been setting in place,
mm,
and having been a student of Asian arts and all of that, the yin and the yang and the Ngala and the Pingala of yoga and all that kind of thing, basically the masculine and feminine,
mhm,
and how at a certain level you come to not see them as a duality but a synergy. They work together to bring about something greater than themselves, even biologically speaking.
mhm,
Okay? A child is born. See? So I'm like, okay, because see, in the Abrahamics, you generally don't, that's just not there. Right? It's just not there. That man, woman came from man. We don't say that in Ifani Sheshe. We say TB, Ray. Everyone came together. Okay. So when I started hearing this thing about head and feet, I'm like, here they go again, erasing the dynamics of our involvement in Ifa Nisheshe, where we had brought the male and the female, the masculine and the feminine, together as a unified approach to building and making something better. Now it moved from Oshun is your feminine essence and Shango is your masculine essence, to one is your head and one is your feet. I'm like, nah, I don't know where it's going to go down that path, but I am predicting that it will be an even further movement away from the conceptualizing and the pragmatizing of masculine and masculine energies working together to create a synergy, an endosymbiosis. We work better together, not because I'm superior and you're inferior. I'm the good and you're the cause of evil. God made me first and made you later because I was lonely or some other whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like we are going to get insightful in respect to our Orisha, but it's also going to make us insightful in terms of what we've been exposed to and what has been ingrained inside of us. You know, we will break these chains, and that's why we're involved with Define Shay. You understand? It's not a show. It's not a performance. It's not a pick and choose of what I'm going to use for my short-term gratification. This is a life. This is a living. This is an ancestral reality dating back at minimum 6,000 years, at maximum 65,000 years. And this is where our course of study is. We are not descendants of slaves. Our descendants may have passed through enslavement, but we are not descendants of slaves. We are descendants of empires and civilizations that go back thousands and thousands of years. And our Orisha may have changed names over time, but they haven't changed attributes. For example, Shango wasn't really a born, much less a king deified, during the 12 to 1400s, some time frame in between there. But before Shango, there was Jakuta. Jakuta was the Orisha of lightning and justice and everything that Shango became. But because Shango was royalty and had a powerful council, they were able to change Jakuta from its ancient origins to Shango. Okay. And I would dare say that the same has happened to many of the other Orisha. The attributes don't change, but different individuals come into being who more so manifest those attributes. And then they take on the name. Okay. I was thinking about this the other day when I was going over some papers, and it's like, how many ways of thought have the names of people to them? How many inventions have the names of people assigned to them? You understand what I'm saying? So it's not impossible to believe or to comprehend that the brilliance doesn't change, but the names change, and that certain understandings about life, certain principles about life, or certain inventions about life take on the names of the individual who brought about that understanding, who brought about that invention or that conceiving of a concept, of an idea, you know? Like Arumila's name wasn't, we call him Arumila, but that wasn't his name. It was the way of perceiving and the way of life that he brought about. Orunlo mo and Nitiyiola, so people just call him Orumila, but his real name was Agbani Regun. You see, so we tend to get trapped into names and neglect the attributes, like we get trapped into who's your Orisha, and neglect not only that Orisha's attribute, but the attributes of all the Orishas that are circulating within us, that are inviting us to be better, that are inviting us to do better. Ashe. Next slide, please. Okay. Ah, now this book here, right here, right here. One day I'm gonna sit down with the person who wrote this book, and we're gonna have some words. Okay. Do you know this individual? Can you get me in contact with him? Oh, yeah, yeah. You got him on speed dial, as we used to
I
say.
think it might be a couple of things I can do, move some things around, make it possible.
Okay, all right, all right. We're
I'll
gonna
see.
set up a Zoom schedule. Talk to this individual because he must have been out of his mind, you know. But see, this book here, as some people have deemed it, the Bible of Ifani Sheshe. Now, back in the day, that kind of, I didn't really want to make that association, but through time, I began to appreciate the association because it is a bridge over troubled waters. You understand? And people were able to better grasp, okay, conceptually beyond surface level superficiality, you know, beyond beyond the killing me. Beyond the superficiality. All right. So people were beginning again to cross that bridge over those troubled waters where we were misrepresented, where we were depicted as, ungodly and demonic and animist and, just didn't have whatever a human being needed to have to be enlightened, to be spiritually moved, and to be saved by the grace of their faith. So this Ifa Isheshe Bible, okay, presented just a little twist and shifting, a little side shift to the head and say, okay, there's a whole nother way of looking at this. And in that way, there's a whole nother way of looking at Orisha. And in that way, there's a whole nother way of looking at our ancestors. Because see, he's not starting at slavery. He's not starting, at, the beginning of our undoing. Okay? He's breaking through all that. And he doesn't seem to care. Who knows it? He doesn't seem to care. You know? And the next thing you know, the book is global. Because people want a shift. They want a bridge over troubled waters. They want it all taken from the dissertations and the theses and put into a form and fashion and structure and sensibility that makes it understanding to the masses of people who want to be so moved. I was one of those people who needed to be so moved. You understand? So it took a number of years and uh, twice as many battles to ensure that this book got published. But the whole statement is in regards to Orisha Insight, is that it provided something more than who's your Orisha and who's going to be mounted and who's and now what to do, in respect and in regards to that. Uh, I ran across a piece just yesterday uh, that was talking about Orisha, and they were going into the crystals, along with the herbs and, you know, a lot of starlight, star bright kind of things, you know, uh, zodiac signs and all that. And I get that, and I appreciate people who do that. Please don't ever get me wrong, dear listeners, okay, dear viewers. However, all of that works on a certain part. Like if we had a pie graph, it would be a section of the pie graph. I question when it becomes the totality of the pie graph. Because see, we can be very astral traveling, but we still gotta get up and go to work, we still got to deal with people. You understand? We still have to raise our children. We still have to navigate everything that is depleting us. Poor diets, poor energy surroundings. Okay. So, yes, the crystals and the zodiac signs and the color therapy and even the aromatherapy. It all works for me. It's a part of my pie graph. To be very transparent. You know, there were times I put native turquoise beads on. There were times tiger's eye. You understand? Those were my gems. Okay. So those, all of that I understand, but I also understand more so, especially through time, that it's all a part of the pie graph. And at the end of the day, what the greater part of the pie graph needed to be for this humble soul was how I conduct myself, how I twist and turn and push myself through self-destructive tendencies, no matter how gross, no matter how subtle, no matter what. Because see, I can wear 1,000 ornaments. I can sage my house and me every day. I can take 20 spiritual baths per month. I can fast myself out of existence. But if I'm not changing who I am, you understand? If I don't get up off my knees and walk Agbo Ato, you know, with the straightness of bearing, then all those other sections of the pie graph are too much. They're lessening what the greater part of the pie graph, from my experiences, lessening the part of the pie graph that needs the greater attention, that needs the greatest attention. Am I adding to my longevity or to my demise? The people I associate with, the diet that I have, the exercises that I do, the thoughts that I travel through. What do I feed myself mentally, spiritually? Who am I, really? And who am I striving to be, ultimately? You see, this is what Ifa Nisheshe is all about. Arumula tells us the pillars of Ifa and Nisheshe: Iwa Puele, Iwa Lewa, Iwa Aye. The person of balanced character, the person who is attuned to nature, even the nature of oneself, the person who moves forth in life without regressions, all to become an Inayan Gidi, not to become a continual 100% devotee of Orisha, but to develop oneself to have an authoritative mechanism going on inside of oneself. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to accept this. I am going to be the author of my life. Things are going to happen. Life keeps lifing. But the major part of that pie graph, that's going to be me. And if I have to live in solitude, fine. If I have to live with 10 kids around me, fine. You know what I mean? All of that is kind of external because what's going on inside is the greater part of the pie graph. Okay, so let's look at the handbook. Okay, commonly called the handbook. All right. Now, there's a chapter in the handbook that's called the Orisha Internal. Lending to insights. So I just wanted to take a look at this picture. Okay. Now, the first thing we see is someone sitting in Sadasana or the lotus position. Now, my people, we've been sitting in lotus position long before those who have become known as Indians have been sitting in the position in yoga. There's concrete evidence. you know, there's concrete evidence. You can go back to the Nile, ancient Kemet, you know, and the Nubians and the Kemetans themselves. That they're sitting in this position. But no, when we look at it, again, how we look at things based on what we've been taught and what we've been told, it's like, okay, that's not Ifa and Isheshe. That's some yoga stuff. Yeah, but see, this has been the discussion since I put out the book was published back in 1994. You understand? Oh, that's not African. You hear people talking about, and there's people who are into Africana studies and into what we used to call ATRs. Again, telling my age, it was African traditional religions, and I'm presenting this because I've experienced it, and I've experienced it from Indians who were more Dravidians. They weren't the mixture of Indians that happened uh, uh, 2500 BC when they were invaded by the Aryans, the Caucasoids. This is not some black revolutionary teaching. This is pure fact. It's documented. You can go wherever you want to go. It's going to be there because that's what happened. Okay. So my point is that all of these sciences having developed in that core region of the Nile Delta, okay, again going back tens and thousands of years, okay, we were in these positions. We were talking about the plexi or the plexuses, however we want to call it, inside of our bodies. This is not Chinese. This is not Indian. This is Black African. But we are so DEI'd that we can't even make out the engravings after the erasure. And I'm here to say Ifeanyi Sheshe is giving us the capacity and the capability, or should I say, the capability to recognize our capacity to do so. So this is ours. And that's why I put it in the book. Okay. And I may have used the term yoga, just like at times early in the book, I may use the term angels, because I need to get people to see that there's a bridge. Okay. And when I was studying yoga, it was from an African elder who had embraced your water orange cloth and everything. He was deep into it. At the time, I was teaching at the Chad School, Council of Independent Black Institutions. One of the black schools, coming out of the 60s. Okay. Matter of fact, I taught at two of them, Julius K. Nyerere, who at that time was the president of Tanzania, and then the Chad School in Newark. But the whole thing is, I was seeing in real time how the African influence was being interpreted by African people. not just people from India. And I keep reiterating that because that's all we know. I make the connection because I do comparative analysis, but I know where the source is. I know it as a matter of fact, not conjecture. So here we have, okay, ourselves sitting in the lotus position. And why a lotus? Why that position? Because a lotus blooms and blossoms even out of the mud. When we look at that allegorically, when we look at that symbolically, when we look at elevating ourselves through the muck and the mire, we start to understand why this position is so important. Anyway, so we see through the chakras, and you have the book. I invite you to go back over it and more so internalize it to see that all through the major plexi, okay, we have representations of the Orisha inside of us. As we spoke upon, Petabia Rumula and myself, the Orisha are inside of us. They're inside of our chakras. And what makes this real interesting is that when you look at the Indian science of yoga, you'll see that inside of these chakras, they are their divinities or deities, more specifically. Their deities are inside. And when I was studying Tai Chi more intently, I see from the Taoists, it's the same thing. It blew my mind. I'm telling you, not many things blew my mind, but this one had my brains all over the place, splattered on the wall. I'm like, no, they did not. And I'm looking at this big diagram, and it has all of the plexi and all of the nerve endings and all blah, 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 and inside it has the names of the Chinese deities. So I'm saying if all of these major groups have a correlation, a correspondence to what goes on inside of us, to the deities that they hold as their sheroes, their heroes, their legendaries, and their deities, then how come Ifani Sheshe does not? Again, subhumanized, marginalized, DEI-anized to the point where we just put on parades. You understand? Do reenactments, the drum and the dance and all that. Again, not saying anything to the negative, but just looking at the pie graph. If that is a major part of them doing what they do, you know, making these big Santeria type offerings and taking up half of the daggone, building. Oh, because this is what the Orisha. These are our offerings to the Orisha, and that looks very beautiful. But then you got this Catholic saint up there, you know, and you're calling it what again? Okay, well let's leave it at Santeria, okay, and it's okay. Just let it be what it is. But don't come to me telling me that that's African, that's African traditional. What's with this word, you know? Anyway, right? So here we go. My major part of the pie graph, and I invite those who study this way to look inside as a major part. Yeah, drum and dance. Yeah, sing and whatever else, reenact, you know. But if you're not internalizing, if you're not working at the very hormones and the very essence of your own self, then from a pragmatic approach, you're missing the bullseye. You can't blame it on anyone else after a while, except your lack of being able to aim, you know? Back to responsibility. All right. So uh take a a good look. Again, you have the book, but just look at it. Okay. And now, in closing on this page, people I would say, Baba, uh, uh, over to la at the throat chakra, the over the la rules the head. You know what I mean? And I'm like, look up the glandular structure. Spirit does not guide me incorrectly. I may interpret incorrectly, but I'm getting better at listening. I really, really am. Okay. But when I did this in 1994, I was going with spirit. And I later found out the importance of the thyroid as the governing glandular plexus in the body. It governs all of them. I'm like, you see there? Okay. Okay. And then the next thing you know, over time, I started seeing, duplications of this and, people being more integral. And then questions like, well, where's SU and all that? Well, SU is not a part of the glandular structure, but SU rules the nervous system. That's why we have SU symbolically and allegorically stated as the messenger, because of what happens through the body. But if you really wanted to know where the point would be, then of course we have to deal with the spine. And then at the back of the neck, that gape in the back of the neck, that would be the seat of Eshu, because the nervous system has to go through so much in half the time of that to travel through the body. You see, this is how deep our science is. And then I started to wonder, before we get to the next slide, what if there was an individual by the name of Elegba, you know, who came to realize this and became a teacher of it, just like Abani Regun came to realize that there were 16 major principles. His 16 students, 16 he picked 16 students out of hundreds, and they became what we now call the Odu. You see, there's a concrete structure to our belief system. Okay. All right. Next slide, and we'll touch on them briefly. Can we expand it a little bit? Okay. So, not just to go into this too much at all. As you turn the pages in the book, you'll see where the chakra is located by the black dot, and then goals. Okay, and I think that this is obviously helpful, because, like I say, when we look at Shango, for example, and then I have the goals at the bottom, and I'll take this right from the book. Relax tensions in order to reduce karma and world entanglements. Refine sense organs so that confusion and pain do not follow the seeking of temporary gratification. Guard against polluting the sensory organs through overindulgence. Begin to act wisely and with moderation. Seek liberation from the lower realms. Guard against violent behavior based on insecurity. And lastly, be motivated towards self development. On the other side, we have Orisha Yemoja, and this will be the last one. Okay. Observe and study the effect of the moon upon the emotions. Monetary wealth should precede fulfillment of sensory desires and sexual life. Become free of base emotions such as anger, envy, and greed. Remember always that a negative mind brings disaster. Guard against being overly possessive. Regulate primal needs in order to maintain your health. Elevate the consciousness through fine arts and crafts. Okay? So, this is why the handbook has become the Bible and has been since 1994 in production, has experienced being in at least 5 different languages. Okay. Alpeji B, go back to the picture of the book, please. Okay. So it becomes of the utmost importance that we, like many other faiths, okay, who hold their books as sacred, you know, uh, how many Sundays, you know, in a year does the pastor refer to the Bible? All right, let's say 52, more or minus a leap year. And that pastor been preaching at the church for doggone, must be about 20 years now. So 52 times 20. I think you see where I'm going. Okay, that one book, okay, the Quran, that one book, okay, the sutras and the surahs and the biblical verses and all of these sacred texts are constantly revisited and then passed on to generations. So now when that preacher retires after 20, 25, 50 years maybe, every Sunday preaching from that book, that imam every Friday preaching from that book, Buddhist folks going from that book. So those who deem the Handbook of Yoruba Religious Concepts biblical, I invite you to do the same. I do. Don't make the connection if you're not going to live up to it. Okay. Ashe. Yeah.
You just don't know that behind the scenes, I was
I
sprinting
I can't
around.
I can't
Okay,
see.
hold on. Let me remove this so we can
Okay.
add ourselves back on here.
There you
Where'd you
go.
go? This one. Here we go.
Yeah, B.
I
So what
was
what were you saying now?
I was saying you just don't know that I was sprinting around the pulpit, and as you was talking, I was like, "You're giving too much. You're giving too much. All this sauce that you're giving, talking about Eshu and the spine, and this is stuff that they supposed to join the IFA Sheshe lecture series for." And
Okay. All
but
right
I
now.
understand. I understand.
Yeah.
You gotta be a little generous. Drop some jewels.
Okay. Okay. All
And
right.
it's
Well,
always a method.
let them know that they can come on and join the class. We can't wind back time, but we can wind it forward. Okay.
And enjoy the video while it lasts. I might put it might hide it from you if you don't share this live. Ifa Shegum said the handbook is a true treasure for beginners and sages,
Mhm.
mandatory at our temple service. Ashe. I've heard that people are bringing these books inside their seminars, their college classes. They're using it for writings and things like that. God is really good, huh?
Mhm. Oh, Bobby. Hey.
You're supposed to say God is good all the time. 'Cause you
Just don't make the what she saying? You got it?
don't make the connections if you're not going to live up to it.
Hey,
You know what I'm
that
saying? Now,
that's
lock your ear.
right. And don't be like, oh, it's the Bible, blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, when the last time you saw, oh, I don't know where that book is. You know what I mean? You don't know where the book is. You just said it was your Bible. You know what I mean? Are you using it? How many times have you read through it? Oh, I don't know. It was so long ago. You see, that we trying to get people out of that. Matter of fact, get the book, join the class, and
Hmm.
and let's really get into getting into it. Okay? Because then you get that
Yes.
extra
Yeah.
information that I put the B is saying like, he cast in the net, right? Letting people know that there's more to even the book.
It is. It is. My sister was on TikTok commenting because she's read a book. Well, she was probably like 11 years old, and it was about the Krishnas and
Yeah.
spirituality of that. And so she's just like remembering and resonating with what you're saying because that was where she started. Like that was pretty much
Mhm.
her starting point. And then hearing this, like, oh, okay. And yeah, he said, "Well, Torah made
Yeah.
you the ancient state. It's time we actually live the truth and not merely believe in it."
Yeah.
Karade.
That's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's cool that you mentioned the Bhagavad Gita because, when I talk about people from India, and I'm talking about, people in the Hinduism. And again, I got a yoga chart hanging now. We would call the yoga practices balaga, which means the same thing as yoga, to join together, to pull together. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the bridge over troubled water has to be recognizable, or people won't even cross it. They would be afraid to. But I like the fact that you pulled up, about the Bhagavad Gita and the young person reading it and being changed by it. And I'm sure, it was read more than once, and the Hindu folks see it as sacred, and they reference it continually,
Right.
continually. Krishna and Arjuna, I studied all of that back in the freaking
Mm-hmm.
70s.
Mm.
Eastern philosophy and all of that. But yeah, good point. Good point.
Wow. It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
So,
Well,
any closing remarks from yourself or our illustrious attendees?
now I've already shared everything that they've said on TikTok or what anybody said on TikTok. Just a lot of hearts, a lot of love. Well,
Hmm.
hmm well, we do have the Ify Shay lecture series that is still current. So if you haven't yet enrolled into it, it is still available. Our next group class is on Friday. Yeah, Friday this week.
Hmm.
And then I do have WhatsApp. We have a book club. So if you have the book or if you want to get the book, you want to join into conversations, be a part of conversations, ask questions, get your questions answered, you can join the WhatsApp. A link will be provided in descriptions. And until next Sunday, that's what we have.
All right.
Mhm.
No doubt about good people. And remember this phrase, Orisha ni masin. Okay?
Write that down, write that down, write that down, write that down.
Orisha ni masin.
Arisha Nimasin.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It is the Orisha who are valued, so valued that I humble myself to them.
Arisha Nimasin.
Yeah.
Ashe.
Ashe o. Odabo, good people.